So, what do we got? Hello, my lovelies. Welcome to another 1 vs 1. This time it's a ranked replay, and I just messed up my picture-in-picture buttons completely. In blue, we have Aryzing. With the Osiris commander going bots first on clutch, vehicle second after a 1-1. Meanwhile, on the other side of clutch, in white, we have Oxide Ion with his 2 boots commander. Bots first, 2-2. And then air thereafter with vehicles later on. Oxide is currently second on the ladder. As off the time of this replay. At the time of watching the replay. Going out some fabricators first. So going to want to expand in a whole bunch of directions, probably ideally going out to these mechs in front, and indeed he's got the second fabricator doing that, possibly even putting up a couple of point defense to defend them, although that depends on his unit composition. Is he going to be using his units to defend, or is he going to be building the static defenses? Static defenses are quite potent currently in the meta. We'll have to see. And is he going to use his commander to expand backwards or forwards? Looks like he's got a big build queue to finish in his base first, so he'll be finishing that off with 4 air factories total, 5, 6, blimey. 6 air factories. So he's definitely going to be playing the air game if we switch back over to Aryzing. Blue. Similar fabricator situation, going out to the front there to expand to all those mechs. What is he queued up those factories with? Is that a fabricator or a commander? We'll have to see. Looks like the commander's going to be sitting on the plateau there, getting off the air factories. Bombers coming out from Oxide though, looking for a few fabricators to try and knock down. Indeed, they're going to find one, possibly 2. Depends on if the bomber stays alive, which it didn't. Unfortunate, but he does also know there's another bot fabricator there, which he can go and deal with just another bomber. Which won't take very long to build at all. Oxide, though, in the meantime, pushing out in a number of different directions with fabricators, grabbing all the mechs he can early on. Aryzing, meanwhile, stalling a little bit for metal. Ideal, but Oxide going out the back there. If we look in the queue again, we can see that he's put up a whole bunch of defences here, and he's even popping one single wall in front of each of these turrets to make sure he conserves their life. Background here though, we saw that Oxide did try and send out a dock to try and scout here, or maybe pick off a fabricator expanding undefendedly, but was unfortunately defended for Oxide. Fabricator coming in though, that fabricator was lost. The dock's there, just going to pop in and take out a spinner, because why not? Oh, maybe not. Hero dock saves the day. So looking at what the players are doing then as their overall plan, radar coming out from Oxide to see what he wants to do, but we definitely know that he's going for a very heavy air build. Lots of interceptors going around scouting constantly, so that means that Aryzing will not be able to get onto the islands with air fabricators, and it might actually spell that Oxide are going to try and do that with air dominance and maybe trying to defend them and gradually push out under the cover of bombers. But the transition to vehicles is real for both teams. There we saw Oxide back on this side in the picture-in-picture. You can see he's got a few vehicle factories out. And Aryzing on this side also got one. He's sitting idle with his commander though. I'm not sure that's a great idea. But maybe it's because he's just trying to conserve his economy at this point in time. Vehicle factories going out in front though with bot fabricator. Interesting decision. There is a vehicle fabricator there that's going to start assisting, but you probably want the vehicle fabricators to do it simply because they're more efficient and build faster, I believe. But the vehicle factories out the front will be able to provide that sort of bulkhead, as it were, for any assault force, because there's going to be a lot of production there later on. But Aryzing really needs the economy, as does Oxide actually. Oxide needs a bit more power before anything else happens. If we go back to his base there, he's got lots of factories, but not too many P-gens. And he's building a lot of things with his fabricators all at the same time, hence why he was stalling a little bit there. Galata turrets and point defense going up quite nicely though. We'll be able to secure that position. Might even pop up a pelter or a lob there, you never know. But T2 vehicles! Ooh, that's early indeed. Looks like a fabricator was killed off the back here by another raiding force, or was that the Bumblebee? I think it was the Bumblebee, wasn't it, that came over? And there's the attempt at taking down the islands there. That must have been a Pelican drop from Oxide. Both teams running into a little bit of eco trouble. Oxide probably from overproduction, Aryzing just from not having the eco. Meanwhile, Doc's coming in from the back, putting even more pressure on. The commander will have to move out to deal with this. He's been given a move command to go and grab those mechs. We'll probably see an Uber cannon from these Docs as he moves past. But the Fabricator, no! Uber cannon, please. There it goes. Those Docs are gone. The commander now moving over. He does want to watch out for air, though. The air presence from Oxide is beginning to be a bit of a worry. Do you have more tanks coming out, more bumblebees as well, and even moving into the naval from Oxide with air fabricators. So, you know, Orcas are really good at shelling the coastline, or we might even see T2 naval rush with kaijus, but we'll have to keep an eye on what's going on there. Continue Docks pushing. Now this is the thing with Docks on a map like this, they just have such mobility, and if you keep outproducing your opponent on Docks, you're going to be able to raid, and if your opponent is building a lot more vehicles, they're not going to have the response time that is necessary to deal with Docks raids. We look in the army tab there, while the bombers are just passing over a whole bunch of spinners that isn't good for them. Unit numbers pretty the same, fabricators and factory numbers pretty standard, but the economy is so different. Oxide just streaming ahead because it's a streaming economy, get it? Sorry, I make puns on stream, or at least I try to. Not puns, but you know what I mean. Play on words, same difference. If that T2 vehicle factory goes up, I think Aryzing is going to have a hard time running it, but he's only got one fabricator building it at this point. So perhaps it won't get up just yet. Does Oxide know of it? Yes, he does. So he knows that it's an issue. It's probably why he's gone into the water now to queue up to T2 naval. I'm curious to see what he is doing with it though. Oh, he's just trying to lock down the mechs. Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. He's just trying to get the mechs in the pond. Which is a good idea, to be honest. You know, why not? It's a couple of free mechs, and if your opponent has no way of contesting it, then it's a lot of free mechs. Even around the back now with air fabricators, a few Gallata turrets as well going up. And he knows that his opponent isn't going too heavy on the drifters, and as a result doesn't need to bother putting up floating point defense, and he knows that his opponent isn't in the water, or at least he can safely assume that he's not in the water, so he doesn't need to put up torpedo defense, and Docks cannot fire when they're in the water, so torpedo defense wouldn't really be necessary against them anyway. But what do we see here? We do see drifters. So when he sees those, when those are revealed, he may be forced to reconsider, but we'll have to wait and see what happens there. Interceptors! No, you don't want to sit on top of one another, no! That was so very bad of Aryzing. You don't want to sit your interceptors on top of each other like that. That's the last thing you want to do. Still more metal being grabbed here. Oxide having far more than his fair share of metal, but why not if it's not contested? This is exactly the issue of not expanding and not raiding. I'm surprised this is a ranked game. I need to see what rank Aryzing is, actually. As this, to me, doesn't strike me as an evenly balanced game. Commander moving into the water, though. Hello, hello. Is he going to try and embark on the other side there? Aha! There goes the radar. Oh! Air fabricator down as well. That's a shame. Where's he going next? He's not. Where is he going next? Aha! There's the T2 naval that I spoke of earlier. Kaijus. They're a thing. Vehicles pushing in the middle though, and there's nothing really to defend against this because all the vehicles are in the wrong place. All the defense is completely out of position. These guys can just push straight through and put a lot of pressure on this T2 vehicle factory here. And therein lies the big issue. But they're not pushing in, they're sitting there. Oh dear. That's giving Aryzing the time he needs to respond to this threat. Still more air coming out from Oxide. We saw in his build queues earlier he did have 6 air factories, though he's changed that up to vehicles, considering he saw the T2 vehicles. He knows that storms are a thing and spinners are a thing, so he needed more vehicle production to try and push through. And that's worked out for him because he's managed to push through here and is now starting to put a lot of pressure on this T2 vehicle factory that Aryzing is so desperately still trying to get up, but the remaining defensive vehicles trying to come round and deal with this. Fabricator though imperiled, and if Aryzing isn't going to resume production on that T2 vehicle factory, it'll start decaying. That's not what you want. You do not want a decaying vehicle factory, especially after you've put so much effort and resources into it, but it will start decaying. Maybe not. Well, yeah, it is. Oh dear, that is a shame. The vehicle fabricator coming out is not going to finish in time. That is such a giant shame. Oh, someone got there in time. Saved. But wow, so much decay. Not good. But looking at the unit count now, Oxide's starting to pull ahead on the vehicles and on the bots as well, and still the bots of course still have that raiding power. The commander out here pushing back, he's got a bunch of mechs, but the T2 naval is a thing. Oxide is fine for economy, and he's not floating too hard, so it indicates that he's actually using it, which is good as well. If you have a whole massive economy, just make sure you're using it, because if you're not using it, then, you know, why bother getting the economy? Look in the army tab, though, just to put insult to injury there. 180 plays 80, so 100 more units there for Oxide. A fair supply of those are going to be the air. No. Aryzing bringing back the air game there, lots of interceptors. He's not really got enough to be able to confront Oxide yet. Same with the vehicles though, he just doesn't have the vehicle count to confront, and pushing out like this brings him in range of the pelters that he doesn't want to do. This is such a good pelter position if you can get them up safely. This is another problem with the way Aryzing played his early game. He played it far too passively, far too turtly and enclosed. And as a result, basically relinquished the map control to Oxide, who's now just steamrolling ahead, 14 factories to 11. But if we go back to the economy tab, the stalling is bad. But the T2 eco is real. So you never know, anything can happen. Do we have kaijus coming out? Yes we do! I called it. I am the best. And more T2 economy there as well. We need more T2 mechs, but the T2 mechs is going up pretty much everywhere now. Most of the water mechs have been turned into advanced, certainly by the factory there. Coming in the back though, with a number of docks, managing to put a bit of pressure on. They're not going to be able to do too much, take down a fabricator, but the power isn't a thing that's an issue for Aryzing right now. If you look at his floating 6k, he just doesn't have the production he needs, and he doesn't have the metal income he needs. He's still struggling to get the T2 vehicle factory up. It's gradually getting there, but there's another force of vehicles on the horizon, and the thing is, Aryzing still has to be producing spinners. But the big issue now is the kaijus that are starting to get in range, and kaijus versus vehicles is very, very nasty for the defender. Because the kaijus can just kite the vehicles every which way. The only thing that I think may be able to deal with it is air or more navy, but the thing is they're on land now. So I think drifters might have the movement speed to deal with it, but he doesn't really have any of those. Certainly not in the quantity he needs. He has 6. 6 drifters versus 2-3 kaijus. 4 kaijus. And there's the GG concede on this side of the map. I think he realised he wasn't going anywhere fast. Yeah. He saw that the T2 naval was a thing. He saw that he still didn't have the T2 vehicles up. And he saw that he'd lost out to the air game as well. Well played from Oxide. Played indeed. Andrews. What happened to Mott's army? How did it disappear? Let's go back through the game, because he had a large tank army there. I think it was because he'd lost out to the air game. If we pop forward a couple more groups of 30 seconds. Yeah, he just lost out to the air game and didn't have any spinners to defend against bombers. And his tanks were just out in the wilderness, going on safari. And that's where his army count just disappeared. Wow. I think Mott there just had too much of an emphasis on getting out factories rather than using the eco he had. You know, when I say getting out factories, I mean being aggressive with them. If he'd have just built them in his base and built a few more P-gens, he would have been fine. I think he was just too aggressive and it threw him off because that was his plan.